Welcome back. Tomorrow, the world will commemorate International Women's Day. This year's theme is Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future in a COVID-19 World. Our foreign editor, Sophie Mokoena, filed this report.
They constitute more than half of the Earth's population. International Women's Day is often used as time to reflect.
We are honored to have Professor Salim Abdul Karim, who we know has been at the forefront of advising, our government in terms of COVID-19 and vaccines, and his wife, who is very involved with women's health. They will participate on a panel on health.
The role of women will be the focus. The discussions will also focus on health, women in leadership, and other related issues.
We know that globally the focus has been around COVID-19, and we have somehow neglected issues of maternal health, HIV, chronic diseases like diabetes and hypertension. So it is important to remind women that they need to look after their health and ensure that annually they go for screening.
The challenges are still plenty.
The pandemic has hit women harder. 2/3 of the jobs that we have lost were lost by women. Women have been thrown into extreme poverty in all parts of the world. Girls are dropping out of school, rather not returning back to school after the long period of school closure. And this is risking a lost generation that is engendered. So in order to fix these problems, you need women to be part and parcel of the processes that are looking for solutions and for relief. It is not acceptable that most of the task teams in many countries that are dealing with COVID are made up of men.
Sophie Mokoena, SABC News, Johannesburg.
All right, so we're commemorating the 8th of March tomorrow, International Women's Day. It's a day when people around the world celebrate the achievements of women, but also raise awareness about inequality, about the things that Sophie Mokoena was talking about. And of course, there's a lobby for accelerated gender parity. To discuss women in leadership, we're joined by a prominent female academic and leader, the Vice-Chancellor of UNISA, Puleng Lenkabula. Professor, it's a great pleasure to have you with us tonight. So it was announced last year you would become the first female Vice-Chancellor. I think it was the first to head an institution like UNISA in 150 years or something like that, in forever. Firstly, how's it going?
Thank you very much. It's been interesting. As you know, UNISA is the fulcrum of higher education, with interest in ensuring that we help society extricate itself from the challenges of poverty, inequality, underemployment and unemployment, and to activate citizens who are participants in transforming and changing the global and local knowledge economy, but also to change the world for the better. So I've been privileged to being appointed as the Vice-Chancellor after 148 years. But when we appoint women, sometimes we expect more than we would have their counterparts. And I'm ready for a partnership with colleagues, staff, students, and stakeholders and society to ensure that UNISA becomes a site of success and contributes to these changes. Well, thank you.
I'm glad you brought that up, Professor, because I actually wanted to ask you, do you think when you make decisions about how you will be judged as a female leader, do you have to carry your gender with you? Are you cognizant of that, or do you just try and make the best decisions you can?
I think it's imperative for us as women leaders never to dismember ourselves from our gender, our sexuality, our interest in society, but also the understanding that many times women have been read to the margins in leadership of higher education institutions, but also in the corporate sector. So it's very important never to extricate ourselves from ourselves, but to claim our gender, to claim the experiences that we have had, and to understand that patriarchy and patriarchal cultures are always reweaving, mutating, and reactivating themselves to becoming difficult. So what my forebears or grandma would have gone through may not necessarily be what I'm going through as a leader of higher education institution. We shouldn't be oblivious of the fact that when we are appointed to these positions, we're not only appointed as competent academics or scholars, but we are also, because we are women, there is an inherent leadership agenda that we should also be projecting, which is ensuring that we don't create institutions of higher learning as sites of elitism. Instead, there should be sites of anchoring the developmental trajectory of South Africa, the region, the continent, and the global community.
You've touched on your passion for education. You spoke about women being left out in higher education. Let's just talk about education generally. From early ages to varsity, women were excluded. Now they are being included, and where they are excelling. Is there anything specific that institutions like yours, UNISA, can be doing right now to encourage gender equality?
Yes, please. One of the things that we have done is to exclude women from mid leadership or senior leadership, executive leadership. It is my intention to ensure that we create accelerator programs that expose women, but also gender non-conforming individuals who have been on the margins to participate in leadership, to mentor and be mentored, to ensure that they have the requisite global exposure or even local exposure on the things that they're expert in. And UNISA must be using, we should be using our experience as a university in cultivating the next doctorate, the next professorate, to ensure that we cultivate cohorts of leaders in multiple sectors, including at UNISA itself. To do that, we have to ensure that we promote masters and doctoral students that can take leadership of these spaces. Thank you.
I was going to ask exactly that. How do you do it? I mean, if there are two doctoral candidates, should you pick the female over the male, or provide extra support for females wanting to advance further?
I'm of the view that talent is very important and competencies are important. Where women have the potential but not the experience, it's always important to ensure that they get the requisite experience and they have the requisite supporting infrastructure. In gendered patriarchal systems, the tendency is often to create institutional cultures that make it impossible for women to participate optimally. And institutions, whether they are higher education institutions or corporate sector, they must ensure that they create enabling and conducive environments for women to extend their competencies. And therefore, if they have the infrastructures that are helpful, they will actually succeed. Yeah. However, if there are impediments that stop them because they are women, therefore they won't succeed. And it has been very evident that when women take leadership, they actually do not advance self-interest, they actually advance the benefit of institutional success as well as societal success. And that's something that we should do. But being a woman leader does not mean, therefore, the idea is to turn the tables and create a vulgar sense of oppression where now we silence, mute, and exclude others. But it means a constant negotiation with creating sites of excellence, ensuring that women are not negated just because they are women, but they are given the opportunities to expressing themselves. And that's how I understand it. It cannot be women over others or men over. It should be a context that allows talents to manifest, at the same time attendant to the fact that marginalization, alienation, and muting or the silencing, institutional silencing of women and women leaders are attended to. And that's very important, because if you don't do that, the women will always be on the margins and they will not be able to contribute constructively to the universities because of the violence, but also the patriarchal cultures that find themselves within institutions.
I hear you. So you're just saying if women have potential, make sure that they have the same opportunity to achieve. Thank you so much. Ahead of International Women's Day, a prominent academic and female leader. Like she said, UNISA hasn't seen a woman or an institution like that for 148 years. She was appointed in 2020. That was UNISA's Vice-Chancellor, Professor Puleng Lenkabula.